This hour 9 guided club bell workout is all about transitions. Transitions are essential to club belling because you need to know that you have control of that club even when your grip is relaxed and you're releasing it to the other hand. I'll be using a 5-pound and a 10-pound club, and I'll leave a link in the description below for where you can get yours. So let's get to this workout. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, click the bell for notifications, like this video, and be sure to come back to this Club Bell playlist for more. So before we actually get started, I'm just gonna do like 5 figure 8s in each direction with each arm. So you're drawing a figure 8, palm is facing down. 5, let's go the other way. 4 and 5. And for these, they can be as small or as big as you are comfortable with. It's really about just warming up the shoulders because they do so much for us when we're doing club belling. Going the other way here, you just want to have control as you do these and really be thinking about, am I drawing an 8? So now we're going to do one that's to the side and in front. So I'm going to backstroke back and then come out in front of my face, backstroke back, in front of my face, 3, 4, and 5, and now I'm going the other way. Stroking down and up and down by my hips. 3, 4, and 5. Other arm. Same thing, backstroke back, already got a click. 2, 3, 4, 5. And other direction. These are a great, easy, standing warm-up that you can do anywhere, anytime. And I love them because they also really help wake you up. It's like drinking a cup of coffee without having to. So now we're going to do one in front and behind. So starting going down, and you will have to sort of look behind you, making space for that arm. Depending on your shoulder mobility, yours might not look like mine. It might be a little bit further out into the world, kind of a little way out here. That's fine. The more you do these, the better you get at them. So now we're going to go, hello. Hello. And trust me when I say, people will respond and say hello back. And other arm going down and down. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we say hello. Hello. So when you do these all the time, you end up with really amazing shoulder mobility. And you can see, when I do this, I'm coming right back here, I have pretty great range. The more you do this, the better it gets. So that's just a nice little warm up for our shoulders before we get into this, which this is all about fun and playing and working on getting comfortable releasing the club. So starting with a 5-pound club for me, feel free to start with as low a weight as you want. It's always better to start with less weight and then work your way up as you get more and more comfortable, especially when you know that you're literally letting go of the club. So a lot of time when we very first start our club bell journey, we are death gripping this club the entire time. Your hands will be incredibly tired, your forearms, your grip is exhausted, you may end up getting calluses on your hand. No big deal, you can always wear gloves. If you don't like that, I love knowing that my hands are actually getting stronger every time I do these workouts. But as you get more and more comfortable, you get really comfortable with just letting go, knowing that I'm gonna catch the club, right? So that's what this is all about. It's kind of about playing and taking some time to really work on that. So the first exercise I call catch and release, because guess what? We're gonna catch it, release it in one hand, catch it in the other. And this, we're going to think about the area on the club that you want to catch. So starting down low, say this general area is low, middle, high. And no matter what, your goal is not to just barely have one finger holding onto the club. You want that whole hand holding, whichever part of it is. It doesn't really matter as long as you actually have the club and you have control. So this is again about practice and play. So we're going to do 10 in each hand, right? I'm starting low, low. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So elbows are staying tight as we do this. Your arms may move a little bit based on where the club goes, but the goal is that you're in basically an order position. That doesn't mean it's always going to stay that way. Sometimes you may have a rogue throw. That's fine, right? The goal is to get used to when that happens so that you know how to handle it. Another thing I want to mention briefly, when you are doing your club bell exercises and you have trouble, especially if it's a heavier club, I'll show you on this light version first, but let's say you're going around in a circle and you're way out here, arm is not tight to your side. This is a very difficult position to hold, right? And you're trying to bring it back and it doesn't quite go, especially when you have a heavy club and you're doing this, right? Don't do this, just let it go. It's going to go in a circle, you'll be able to get it back, right? So when we do things like this, if this is where we are, just let it go, let it swing down in that arc, and you'll be able to catch it with more control if you release and then sort of regroup, right? The other option is always use that other hand. If this is a single arm exercise, feel free to give that arm an assist, right? You can come right here, totally fine. There's nothing wrong with doing that, especially when it's a heavy club. Be safe, right? If we're here, you see how much risk you have to doing something unpleasant to a wrist, a forearm. We don't need to do that. That's not what we're here for. We want to get stronger. We want to keep being able to work out. So let it fall this way, fall that way, whichever way, you just let it still maintain control, but you're allowing it to fall in that natural arm line arc, in that circle, so that you can come back to order, right? So now we're going into these catch and releases in the middle, just somewhere general in the middle, right? 2, 3, I'm still spreading the earth with my feet, I'm still squeezing my glutes as I do this so that I have control. Even if the club gets a little wild, that's okay. I still have control. I know where it's going, I can watch it, I can see. I might not be in order position, but my elbows are still tight. I come back here, right? That's very much like a circle. So starting with a very small little window of where you are releasing, so you really get comfortable doing this. And then going up, high. Again, high and low are probably going to be the most difficult because you want to make sure you have your hand all the way on that club. If you start finding you're doing this, you're at risk of dropping it. And we don't need to drop it. That's not the goal here. Nobody needs to have a broken toe. You want to keep control at all times. So the top may not be this very, very edge, but it's pretty high on the club. Right? Still spreading the earth with my feet, still tucking my pelvis under and squeezing my glutes. You want to make it more challenging? Turn it around. You want to make it more challenging? If you have a workout buddy, have them call out to you. I think this is actually really fun when I'm the person, if I'm working with a client, and I'm making their brain think really hard about this because they're not just going low, low, middle, middle, high, high. I start calling out low, high, middle, low, high, middle, low, high, 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 low, low, right? So it's really fun because it's also a great brain exercise and it's challenging to hear what someone else is telling you to do and actually be able to act on it. So that's catch and release, which has all kinds of iterations and is really fun to do. Again, start with a lighter club, always, and get comfortable. And once that next level of weight is easy, then you can try doing this and get more and more comfortable with the club. Going into a tight elbow inside circle transition. So keep talking about this. It is important. Keeping those elbows tight to your sides prevents you from doing these things, right? It prevents you from being way out here and trying to get back down. Especially with a heavy club, that's going to be difficult, and it's very taxing. It also may hurt. So you want to have control of this club at all times. So if we start really, really tight, the club's going inside and across the body every single time. And we're going to start with 10. So inside, and I'm literally passing it off. One hand holds before I let go of the other. So it's not necessarily the most comfortable action, but if we get used to doing something like this, really tight, really small, with this pass off from hand to hand, as we get into getting more comfortable with our circles, mills, whatever the exercise, pendulums. So you also see how I'm letting the club, next hand holds on, I'm letting the club slide as I go into that circle. So it becomes the bottom hand. Grab on, go inside and around. Right, let's do 2 more. Last one. So if you're starting really, really tight like this, it becomes easier to keep those elbows tight. If you're practicing with your arms real wide and you're doing circles like this, there are circles like that. They're called hammers, right? You go all the way up and around. But now I have a really straight arm, and I am actively, mindfully keeping my arm upright, right? As opposed to not quite sure what I'm doing here, maybe I wanted to bring it in. So practicing with elbows in tight makes it really easy and become muscle memory when you start that way. And then you can move into finding more of a flow with your circles, especially, right? That's kind of the foundational move. And I do talk about this in my circles tutorial. I don't remember what number that is right now, but I'll have a link for it in this description. But if I'm starting here, same positioning as always, feet are hip width apart. I'm going to spread the earth with my feet, tuck my pelvis under, squeeze my glutes, engage that core, right? I'm not wide open. Ribs are not flaring. Tuck in. And now inside circle. When I get to about here, no more than shoulder height, you want to release and give that other hand the opportunity to grab. Inside circle around. Around. Inside circle around. And you can start to really flow, but you'll notice my elbows come right back in real tight. Right? I'm almost barely stopping in order. And then I continue with my circle. Because practicing being in this position is really helpful. It in and of itself is a difficult move, right? So work on practicing this kind of position where you stop in order. And then as you get into that flow, you don't have to stop as much. You can just kind of make it a little hitch. Barely a pause, but it is a place to rest. Right? So the more and more comfortable you get, you see one arm has to reach all the way out. I'm doing this with a 5-pound club right now. Seems pretty easy, and it is. As soon as you add more weight, it will become more difficult because it's obviously going to be pulling your body weight, right? So this is a 10, still easily controlled because I've worked with it for a long time. But if you're new to club belling, this may be a lot. So again, you can always start small. You can do all of these things if you've been doing circles, you've been using a 10, you feel like it's getting really easy. Okay, how comfortable do you feel just doing this, right? Same exercises, but all of a sudden it has a lot more weight distribution difference, number one. So when you try to grab here, also for women who have generally smaller hands than men, trying to grip on the bell end of the club is going to be more challenging, right? Your hands are going to get tired much faster up here than they will somewhere in the middle where you have control and comfort. So it's all about practice and seeing where you're at today. So same things, I'm just going to show you a couple of these tight, elbows tight, inside circle pass-offs, right? I come here, I'm coming into order. I have control. When I release, grab the other hand. Grab with the other hand, I mean. But you can feel there is more pull happening, right? You'll see my bottom half have to resist a little bit more. So it's really great to practice this with a variety of different weights as you get more and more comfortable. So those are tight elbows, right? Same kind of thing, inside circle transition, you will feel that body have to turn more and more as the weight gets heavier. You might notice that you don't need to have very much of that hip rotation with say a 5, a 3, but as soon as you get into say 10, 15, anything higher, you're gonna start to notice that your hips actually kind of have to move to resist the weight. So here we go, inside circle transitions, just so you get to see a few of them. Inside, notice that opposite leg really turns, right? Inside, still squeezing my glutes, still spreading the earth with my feet so that I'm not shifting my feet, right? I'm not pivoting. Feet are planted, they are ground into the ground, right? We don't want that. We want to have control. We're here so that the top part of our body is really what's working. It's moving. There's nothing wrong with the pivots. It's just a different move. Okay? So outside circles, outside circle transition, which again, I have covered in a different tutorial, but I just want to get a little deeper into this idea of transitioning from one hand to the other, because especially when you're starting out, it's a little scary, right? If you are not comfortable letting go, then you don't want to let go. Then you might do this a little bit, and that's okay. Get used to it first. Outside circle, and again, I'm kind of almost exactly handing the club off to my other hand. There's barely a moment when I don't have a hand on this club. But with the 10, you do notice there is a little bit more effort in my body resisting the club. Right? Let's go for 4 more. Each hand. 3. Outside and away. So I'm literally passing it off to the other hand. A little bit easier actually than the inside circle, even though a lot of the time outside circles seem more difficult to most people. Right? So again, your hand is extended long, you're reaching out, and because you're going in that circle already, right, you can see the arc I've created. So when I'm doing, say, 5 sets of 5 circles, when I get to that other one, that pretty much creates a full circle, right? When I go the other direction, if I'm going outside, 1, right, 2, 3, and I switch, and 1. That way I've done the full circle for each side. So those are outside circle transitions where you really feel your arm reaching for the other side, right? Versus inside circles. So now we're going to get into a little more play and bringing in some other elements of club belling, basic club belling, where you have to incorporate some kind of transition from one hand to the other, okay? So shield cast and an inside circle, and then we're going to switch. So we're doing 10 on each side here. So bringing that club up to order, shield cast, inside circle, right? And we're going to switch. So one more time, shield cast, inside circle, switch. Now we're ready to go on the other side. Shield cast, inside circle, switch. Switch. Shield cast, inside circle, that's 2. Bottom of 3. 3. Switch. So again, we're really just practicing and playing and finding ways to make this a little bit more complicated. By adding additional moves. 4. This is 5. 5. 6. 6. 7. 7. 8. 8. 9. 9. 10. And 10, right? So you notice every time I go into order, I take a little pause, because being able to stand in this position is work, but it's also almost like a rest. And you want to get really strong in this position, right? Your arm, your shoulder, this is a strong position, but it's still work. You're holding this club up. So you need to get used to doing that. And the hardest part of club belling is stopping the club. So the stronger you get at getting into order and staying there and only moving when you want to, the better you are at club belling, right? That's like a foundational move to be able to stop with control. So practicing that a little bit every single time is really important. Again, I just want to show you very quickly with a 5, because if the 10 is too much for you to do with one hand, you can always move down to a 5. You can also try to do it two-handed, but then you're thinking even more. There's a lot of brain work here, right? This feels pretty easy if you're used to a 5-pound club or something heavier. All of a sudden doing this is not that much work, except we're building combos, and just adding different exercises together requires more brain work, right? You have to think about what's the next step, what's the next step. So as you build a workout, you have to be thinking about, okay, well, how am I going to do this? What is the flow? And then as you do it, you get great at it. And as soon as you start thinking, oh, was I doing that right? Then something happens and I make a mistake. It happens all the time. But that's why we're building the muscle memory, where you don't even have to think about it. It just becomes a natural thing without having to think about it. You know exactly where that club is going, at least for this particular exercise, right? And then it'll change because you change the exercise. So, setting these aside, this kind of shield cast and this circle transition, we're going to move on to a front swing to catch, which I've done in other workouts. And it seems simple overall, but you are again releasing that club from one hand to the other. So I'm going to show you from the side, kind of a 3/4 position. If you have a heavier club, you're going to feel the weight as it pulls you back. So make sure you bend those knees, thinking about a swipe, and then you're handing the club off, hand to hand, right? You might not really feel like you need to have this much bend, because you do. You want to let the club be an extension of your arm, and you're letting it swing back naturally, right? If I don't have this, if I have my legs straight and locked, then you see how the top of my body starts to want to rotate. I end up really kind of torquing my shoulder back. And there's nothing wrong with that when you're using a lighter club. But when you have a heavy weight, it's going to be a lot, because you still want to have control here and then here, right? You want to have control the entire time. So practicing that little bend in the knees, a little tiny squat, as we do for swipes, where you have control. You're only reaching back to about a 45-degree angle, so that when you do this with a heavier club, and there's many more that are heavier than 10s, but this is what I'm showing you with, because this is good enough to start to really feel that weight shift, right? The requirement of resistance. So here we go, 10 on each side. And we're just swinging and switching. Switch hands. 1, 2, 2, 3. The club is an extension of the arm. You want to keep it at about no more than shoulder height, somewhere between chest and shoulders. Every time you come to stand, squeeze the glutes. 7, 8, 8, 9, 10, and 10. So you see how deep I get when I do these kinds of swipe, this rocket position, because it gives me all of the momentum I need to bring that club up to order. And then I can go anywhere else I want from that, right? So you just want to get used to letting it go out in front of your body, and you're not like throwing it away. You're just right here. Switch, 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 switch. It's not going further away that you need to like run after the club. So now we're going to add on and do a little front swing to a shoulder cast, right? We're going to get into that order position. So now it's 1, 2, 3 different exercises. And then we switch sides. So here we go. Showing you from the side. We've got 10 on each side. Swing to order, shoulder cast. I'm going to let it swing all the way down before I try to switch sides. So I'm allowing that momentum to help me. Shoulder cast, down, swing. That was 1. So you really want to let the club follow that circular motion that it naturally has. 3. 4. Still remembering to engage the core. Right, I'm not letting my ribs flare up. I want to have control so that I can pull the club down with ease. Here, here. If I try and open up too much, you see how much my back arches, and I gotta go, ugh. It's a lot of work, right? It doesn't have to be that much work. 3 more. That's 1. 2. adding on a little bit to really get used to, again, that transition from one side to the other. You can add all kinds of different exercises and create whole flows from doing this, which I hope you are beginning to see a little bit of how you might want to play on your own. So now we're going to go one step further, okay? Maybe 2 steps technically. So we're going to do the same basic move, that swing switch, but we're going to come into order. Instead of going into a shield cast, you're going to rest it on your shoulder, that shoulder park, and then you're going to do a squat. So I just want you to get to see how many different combos you can create from these basic transitions. There's all kinds of others, but this is a wonderful place to start. And if you find that, say, your hips are super tight, and you need to work on them, then bringing in squats and these swing switches are really great. They're very much like a kettlebell swing, right? All of this movement looks exactly the same, except with one hand. You're doing it on one side. You can certainly do it with 2, right? I bring that club into the middle, and now it looks just like a kettlebell swing. Make sure you switch which hand is on top. But it's the same. So getting that kind of work in, but changing it up and getting to create new combos and new complexes is really kind of the best part of clubbelling. You get to play and make it your own and find some crazy awesome flow that you love, that feels great to you, but also makes you stronger in the moment. So here we go. Swing switches to squats. We switch from side to side, 10 on each side. See if I can show you from 3/4. So, I'm always going to start by pushing backward. Find that hip hinge, right? Swing, switch. Find that order position. Come into shoulder park. Squat. Stand back up. Squeeze those glutes. Release the club. Down and around. Here. Order. Shoulder park. Squat. 3. Rest it on your shoulder. Try and have control when you drop down. Squat. Here. Find control. If you want to make this its own thing, just this release from order to shoulder park, that can be a lot of work. You have to have a lot of wrist strength here, okay? 5. Right? Try and get it to drop down onto the shoulder as quietly and gently as possible. 10 more. Squat. Release. Switch. Swing. Order. Park. Squat. Swing. Switch. Order. Park. Squat. Five. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. So that's the whole workout, but I do want to also mention, if you find that your squat tends to look like this, where your chest is really low, right? You want to work on keeping your chest upright. So having a weight there helps you think about, I gotta keep this up, right? I don't want it to hit my head. So just having it on that side, all of a sudden, I'm only gonna go into a little bit smaller of a squat maybe, so that I can stay upright. I'm still doing the work here. Butt still goes back, but I keep my chest lifted. Because this gives me the feedback that that's not the squat I want, right? So that's also a great way to start to work on little exercises and areas of the body that you might need to work on. You start to see, oh, okay, I do feel it up against my neck. Maybe that's not what I want. And this gives you all kinds of opportunity to explore your movement and correct any imbalances that you might have. I hope this was a really helpful workout for you. I hope you have fun and actually get a chance to explore transitions and creating your own flows, because that's kind of the best part about doing all of these. Thank you so much for being here. It's been so much fun. And be sure to come check out my next Club Bell workout, because I'm always going to be putting out more. And please reach out to me in the comments below or via any of my social medias. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know what kind of workouts you want to see more of. Thank you.